Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Wait for Your Love by Ashleynicole, narrated by Mari and Leon Nixon. 1. Dominique. Come on, Thing One. Dance with me. That familiar voice that I wanted to hear in my ears every second of every day snapped my attention from the email I'd been composing. I'd dance with her, he pointed at one of my best friends, Shara, but she'll grope me. You're the safe one. His hand was extended, offering to help me up from my seat. Dominique. He frowned when his eyes landed on my phone screen. You're at a wedding. You're the boss. You can disconnect from work for a few hours. He plucked the phone from my hands, ignoring my protest, and dropped it in my purse, which sat in the center of the table, then practically snatched me up from the chair. I just needed to send. No, you didn't. Stop working all the damn time. I allowed AJ to lead us through the throng of wedding guests, ignoring the huge grin on his sister, my other best friend, Aria's face, as she noticed us passing. She'd just married NBA player Tori Barker. Aria, along with Shara, had been pushing me for years to say something to AJ about my crush, but the thought of it made me sick. My fight-or-flight reflex would kick in like crazy whenever he was around. I did neither, but I'd clam up and sweat profusely. Usually, I was able to hide it, but that was getting increasingly difficult. I saw him often, seeing as he'd signed on to do the marketing for my magazine, Intrigue, and we met at least once a week. Once at the dance floor, he turned me around and pulled me flush against his chest, and I fought the urge to sigh. He was holding me so tight. It felt so good. I basked in the warmth of his embrace as he slowly danced me around the crowded dance floor. I dreamed of the day he held me in his arms, against his chest like this for 20-something years. Okay, maybe not 20-something. I had a baby crush on him until he hit puberty. Then I decided he was going to be the man I married. Then when I hit puberty, I started dreaming about being in his arms. That whole teenage longing thing was real. Every time he got a new girlfriend, it broke my heart. Like for real, broke my heart. I didn't exist to him outside of being his little sister's best friend, but I was in my room boo-hooing whenever I found out he had a new boo. It was so sad. Now, here I was, about to implode, because he was holding me. I was looking everywhere but at him. The tent looked like the Snow Queen had sneezed. Everything was covered in white. The beautiful chandelier that hung from the ceiling glistened like a big icicle, casting speckles of light on everything below it. It was easier to focus on those dancing little speckles as opposed to the man whose arms I was in. I'd had quite a few glasses of champagne and didn't need my lips landing on his by mistake. You look amazing, he told me, appreciation shimmering in his intense stare. I glanced down at the beautiful, fitted maroon silk gown Aria chose for us before finally giving him my gaze. Thank you. I felt self-conscious. Aria did a good job. Thank God she didn't put us in ugly dresses. The dress isn't what has you looking amazing. You just look amazing. Oh. I looked down once more. Dom. The slight irritation in his voice snapped my attention back to his cute mahogany features. Learn to take a compliment. You look incredible. Better than anybody here. Except Aria, I corrected, even though the statement was already a stretch. Aria, though, was ethereal in her lace corset wedding dress with a satin A-line skirt. Truth be told, you look even better than she does. That's impossible. No, it isn't, because you do. AJ. Dom, he countered. Having been witness to many of his and Aria's squabbles, I knew I wasn't going to get anywhere arguing with him. He was too skilled. So I thanked him and shut my mouth, silently savoring his warmth and smell. He thought I looked good. I wondered if he'd seen himself. AJ was a sight to behold on a regular day, tall with chestnut skin and the biggest, prettiest eyes I'd ever seen on a man. Then, when he deigned a smile, You might as well have been looking at the eighth wonder of the world. The song ended, and I would have stepped away, but his hand slipped to my lower back and kept me pressed into him as the next song came on. Where are you going? I'm not done with you yet. Oh my. I let him hold me hostage for a few more songs before Arya, motioning for me at the edge of the room, got my attention. The current song ended, and I gestured her away, telling him I was going to see what she wanted. I want to talk to you before you leave, he informed me as he dropped his arms from my waist. I was confused about what he had to say, but nodded anyway and lifted the hem of my gown as I trekked across the room to Arya, weaving in and out of the other guests to get there. What's up? Look, she sang excitedly, pointing towards the center of the room, where Noelle, my digital content manager, and her boyfriend, Jalen, were in the center of the dance floor. I gasped as he dropped down to one knee and produced a ring. Oh my God! I slapped both hands over my heart as he professed his love for her and asked to spend the rest of their lives together. You knew he was going to do this? I directed at Arya. She nodded. Yeah, he came over to us a little while ago and asked. Didn't want to be rude. I told him after everything the two of them have been through these last few months, he could do anything he wanted, she said, referencing the stalker situation Jalen and Noelle had just been through. Excited and congratulatory words were yelled out as Noelle accepted and launched herself into Jalen's arms, followed by catcalls and whistles when he put his mouth on hers for an excited kiss. I freaking love that, Shara spoke from beside me. That is so damn perfect. Speaking of perfect, Arya's seedy grin was directed at me. You and AJ were looking mighty cozy together. And perfect, Shara added. Y'all look better than Tori and Arya. Don't say that. I felt panicked. That's not true. Girl, it sure the hell is true, Arya interrupted, waving her hand at my words. Y'all look good together. His pocket square and tie matched your dress, and y'all complement each other perfectly. I was sure he was about to palm your butt. Right? Arya agreed. We were all sure. I was shaking my head. We just danced together, guys. It didn't mean anything. Regardless of how much I wished it did, it didn't. We were both a little buzzed from the champagne, and maybe allowed ourselves to get a little googly-eyed at some point, but that's all it was. He wasn't looking at you like it didn't mean anything, girlfriend, she quipped. Was he saying anything? I shook my head. Not really. Told me I look amazing. Which you do. But that was it. I finished, lifting a shoulder. He did tell me he wanted to talk to me before I left, but that's probably about work. So, like I said, nothing really happened. He ain't planning on talking to you about work. How do you know? Girl, he snatched that phone out of your hand and threw it in your bag like the thought of work made him ill. He will not be speaking to you about work at his sister's wedding. Shara rolled her eyes at me and spoke as if she were explaining something to a child. There's nothing else to talk about besides work, Shar. He could want to talk about potentially getting you naked. Doubtful. You let us know after the conversation, she winked at me. Now, I need to get my hands on some of that cake. She chuckled as she walked away, leaving just Arya and me. So, I wanted to change the subject. How are we feeling about being a missus? We feel good, she told me, smiling over at Tori, who was dancing with his niece, Maya. We feel really good. You leave in the morning for Grenada, right? She nodded. Yes, ma'am. 2 whole weeks in the sun with my baby. I was super happy for Arya. She'd been through something really traumatic and had cut herself off from dating for quite a few years. Tori had been the light to pull her out of that darkness. They were so perfect for each other. Dom, I looked over to her in question. If something does happen with my brother, can you not fight it? According to you and Shara, I've been drooling since I met him. Why would I fight it? Because you're scared, she replied. You're the most confident person I know when it comes to business. But for some reason, you don't have a lot of faith in yourself. I need you to start betting on Dom. Just how you knew Tori was good for me and pushed me to accept what he was offering, maybe take a chance on AJ. I'm not saying go and try to tie him down, because I know my brother, and that's not in the cards for him right now. However, I know if something were to happen, he wouldn't hurt you. Hell, I think he'd do wonders for your confidence. Just let it happen, aight? I nodded, although I wasn't sure how to do that. Give me a business model and some capital, and I could turn it into a fortune for you. But put me in a room with Alan A.J. Smith, and poof, I was a rambling idiot. A.J. was now dancing with their niece, Rachel, bringing a grin to my face. He twirled her around the room, barely dodging the other guests, making her laugh. A little while later, the DJ called for Aria and her dad to take the floor for their father-daughter dance. They slowly swayed around the floor to Beyoncé's Daddy, which I thought was perfect. Alan Sr. was an amazing and loving father, so much so that he'd kind of become a surrogate to me, seeing as my own was too worried about business when I was growing up. I didn't think twice about accepting another glass of champagne when the waiter came by. My nerves were shot. I didn't even know why. The entire day had been perfect from start to finish. Aria was now Mrs. Tori Barker, and there hadn't been a blip all day. So what was bothering me? It could have been because I hadn't looked at my phone in over an hour and was dying to finish sending the email I'd been composing when AJ asked me to dance. Then there was the dance with AJ. That could most certainly be the reason for my nerves. He said he wanted to talk to me before we left. About what, though? AJ I couldn't deal with at the moment. He'd have my hormones just as frazzled as my nerves, so I headed back to our table to grab my phone. If there was anything I was 100% confident about, it was work. Just as I was pulling the phone from my bag, it was wrenched from my fingers. "Stop with the emails, girl. Damn." It was AJ again. This time, he slipped my phone into one of the pockets of his pants. "This is a wedding. Socialize. Eat. Hell, eat a lot. Drink some. Chill. Then drink some more." "AJ, I just need to—" My hands were out, reaching for the metal and glass box that ran my life. "You just need to go enjoy yourself." He turned to walk away. "You'll get your phone back, eventually." There was no point in going after him. He'd said what he said. "I wish you'd hurry up and marry him," my little sister, Sage, announced as she came up next to me. "Jesus, Sage," I said in chastisement. "I don't think he heard you in both ears. Can you say it a little louder?" "Sorry." "Sheesh. I suggest you do like he said and drink. You're so uptight." "I am not," I grumbled. "You're just being all free with a secret I plan to take to the grave." "I pray so hard for you multiple times a day, girl," she confessed on an exhale. "And you." I bumped her with my shoulder. "What happened with Caden? Thought we'd be meeting him today." "Something with his grandmother." She pouted some and gave a little shoulder shrug. "Oh, wow. Hope everything's okay." "Yeah, me too. Anyway, I'm going to join Shara at the dessert table. Can I get you something?" "I'll take a piece of cake, too, thank you." "You got it." She bowed deeply at the waist before scurrying off and laughing. She would always be a damn brat. My hand absently went to my purse for my phone, only to remember that AJ had taken it. I wanted to get over there and get it, but he wasn't giving it up. I wouldn't even try to play myself. I didn't even know what time it was. At least, if I did, I could count down until I got it back. Wasn't going to be the case, though. Oh well, I sighed, as I too headed for the dessert table.
AJ. My baby sister was married. To a good dude at that. I couldn't have been any prouder if I tried. Aria deserved this and so much more, and I was sure Tori was going to give it to her. She'd been through some shit that had practically broken her. But he came along and showed her she wasn't damaged and that love was still a possibility. "What's up, Pops?" I dropped down at the table next to my dad. He'd just finished his father-daughter dance with Arya. Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Not about to cry, are you? I teased, nudging him with my elbow. No, sir. I save the tears for the day you find a woman to deal with your curmudgeon ways. He tossed back, smiling absently at Arya and Tori, who were swaying slowly together across the room. I'm good on anything resembling a relationship, Pop. I know, and that scares me. Why is that? AJ, there's nothing wrong with being in love, son. There's nothing wrong with committing to one person. I never said there was, I defended. I just said that neither was for me. I'm good with where I am. I have my business, I'll come and go as I please, and if I really want female company, there are a few numbers in my contacts who'd be more than happy to take up the task for a few hours. I'm not talking about sex, he muttered, eyes low. Well, I'm not interested in anything more, Pop. I'm not. Maybe in a few years or longer, but not right now. I'm perfectly content with where I am. Besides, you've been divorced from Mommy for over 20 years and you've yet to remarry? Hell, I don't even see you dating. You do just like I do. Go to work and go home. So clearly, I'm an authority on the subject. He finally turned, giving me his full attention. Don't you think? Pop, you really want to have this conversation here, right now, today? Because I didn't. Your sister just got married. Look how happy she is. He gestured to Arya and Tori. I want that for you. I want it for you too, I replied absently, disinterested, being my usual self, as Arya would put it. I try really hard to have hope for you, but your utter lack of personality pretty much seals the deal. I stared back at him blankly. I was used to the personality jokes. He and Arya had a million of them. He chuckled and rapped a fist gently on my knee. You'll come around when the right one crosses your path. I guarantee it. I'm sure. I wasn't sure of shit. I was good living the bachelor life and saw no end in sight. It wasn't that I was necessarily averse to the thought of commitment. Scratch that. I was utterly averse to the thought of commitment. I wasn't even committed to my barber. I had 3 I rotated so that none got too comfortable. Monogamy and marriage just weren't for me, and I was cool with it. Anyway, he continued, how about you start working on relationships with the women in your life? Meaning? I knew where this was going. Your mother, Alan. Couldn't help but notice you've barely spoken to her the entire day. He was serious when he used my full first name. I spoke. I interacted. We're just not on the best terms right now. When are you ever? Don't say it like I don't make any effort. I've been trying hard these last few months. Arya and I paid all of that money for the new place for her, and she refused to move into it. Harold went and stole all of the TVs out of the house 2 weeks ago, and we had to replace them. The week after, David kicked in the front and back door because he was so high out of his mind that it never occurred to him to try the doorknob. What am I supposed to do? I go over there, I clean up all of their messes because she refuses to let grown men be grown men. Those are her children, AJ, he said softly. She wouldn't desert them any more than she would you. I wouldn't put her through that. But if you did, she'd stay for you too, he championed. I could never understand my father's patience when it came to the situation with my mom. The situation was so bad when they were married that he left her and took Arya and me. Now he wanted me to be the patron saint of patience and understanding, and it wasn't going to happen. I loved my mother, but this situation with my brothers was draining to everybody involved. She had a safe place to go where she wouldn't have to worry about their mess. It was a gated, guarded complex where she could breathe and enjoy just being. But she wouldn't go. It wasn't like we just went and bought the spot either. We sat down and had a whole conversation with her, and she agreed. So yeah, I was more than a little pissed off at her. AJ. Pop, can we please just enjoy the rest of the day? Arya is married. She's safe. I don't have to break any more hands, and you don't have to load the Glock. Let's enjoy this. Please. If there was one thing you could say about me, it was that I was a stubborn ass. I wasn't easily moved, and everybody knew it. He just shook his head and turned back towards the dance floor. He knew he wasn't going to make any headway with me. I did the same. The tent was filled to the brim with people. It wasn't a huge tent, so that wasn't difficult. Aria and Tori wanted something intimate. A flash of maroon to my right made me smile a little. Dom was standing off to the side, looking like she didn't know which way was up. Her phone had been pinging with emails since I took it, and I had no intention of giving it back until the reception was over. She couldn't even enjoy herself because she was so tuned in to what was going on with work. I wasn't about to let that happen. The emails could wait. She looked entirely too good to be sitting at a table with her face glued to a phone. The dress Aria chose for her was really flattering to her small frame. Dom was tall and thin. At one time, I would have called her curvy, but it seemed she'd chosen emails over meals as well. She'd lost a lot of weight over the last few years. She had this beautiful, buttery, creamy smooth skin that the burgundy-colored dress looked perfect with. Her hair was up in one of those intricate bun things. I think they're called chignon or some shit like that. It didn't matter when you saw Dom. Her hair was never down. She kept it in a neat bun or a ponytail at all times. It slicked back perfectly. Hair didn't even dare to get out of place. She usually hid behind her large-rimmed glasses, but she must have put her contacts in for the wedding. Dom was bad. She didn't know it somehow, but she was bad as hell. Not that I was looking at her like that. I'd known her since she was 5, had literally grown up with her, so I definitely was not looking at her like that. Outside of her practically being part of my family, I worked with her. Initially, she'd reached out to see if I had any ideas about drumming up more traffic on the magazine's website. After that, I officially signed on to help with new branding and marketing. I was trying to get her to stop thinking about work, but Dominique was a damn beast when it came to business. I was older by 3 years, but I learned a lot from working with her. There were other physical things that I'd noticed and felt some pulls about, but I learned to ignore them. Dom's heart was just as beautiful as her face, and my no-commitment stance on everything was liable to break that beautiful heart. Besides, I was sure she looked up to me like a brother anyway. "Why are y'all looking so crabby at my wedding?" I shifted my gaze from Dom up to Aria as she bounced over, taking the seat between Dad and me. "Who's crabby?" I asked. I know I wasn't. "Well, I shouldn't have said y'all. Your regular face looks like you're in constant pain, so compared to that, you look happy." She shrieked when I reached over and plucked the exposed skin of her shoulder, then turned to punch me hard in the side. "Oh my God, you two," my dad snapped. "Could you not act like prize fighters for one damn night?" "Daddy, he thumped me," she complained, twisting her neck to try and see the angry red spot forming on her shoulder. "You tried to take out a damn rib," I complained as I stretched to try to work the pain out of my side. My dad shook his head, much like he'd been doing since we were kids. "You good, though?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. She'd been beaming from the second I saw her at the church that morning, her excitement palpable. She grinned and leaned towards me to accept the half hug I offered. "I sure am. You?" "I'm cool." "You speak to Mommy?" "Yes, Aria, I did." She was softer on our mother than I was. "Just checking." She held her hands up defensively. I looked over to where my mom was sitting. She was chopping it up with Tori's mother and father while holding our sleeping 2-year-old nephew, Danny. She was well into her 60s and still chasing around a toddler. I wouldn't say anything about that, because with her was the safest place he could be if it came down to it. Both of his parents were so far gone with drugs that they barely knew he existed. His mother was into prostitution and had actually sold him when he was 5 months. Thankfully, her dealer knew my brother and dropped Danny off on my mom's porch in the middle of the night. We went to court for custody after that. That was one less headache for us. If she would just move, things would be perfect. What are you thinking about? Look like you're making yourself mad over something, Arya noted. Nothing. Liar, you're thinking about Mommy. It'll pass. Always does. I can't with you, she told me as she rose from the chair. I have to go mingle with all these people I invited to this shindig. All right. Save me a dance. Will do.
2. Dominique. You never gave me my phone back, was my response to his quizzical brow. I'd gotten all the way home and parked before I realized I never got it back. AJ lived a good half-hour away from me, but I didn't hesitate to make the drive. My phone was my pulse. If it wasn't in my hand, I felt like I was cut off from the world. I was a bit of a workaholic, and leaving it with him until the next day wasn't an option, even if it was the weekend. He didn't speak, just tilted his head, looking at me oddly. You're right. He stepped back to allow me entry. You had to come get it at 4 a.m., though? That's an addiction. He'd changed from a black suit he'd worn to the wedding and was now comfortably dressed in gray sweats and no shirt. I didn't follow him further inside, opting to wait by the front door as he continued to fuss on his way to the stairs. He reached the bottom step and turned back to me. Dominique, sit your ass down, man. Damn, you've been in those shoes for like 18 hours. I know your feet are killing you. Take a seat, he ordered. My nod was jerky as I hurried to sit down on the longer of 2 black sofas. The room was super dim, with the only illumination coming from the television. Looked like the carpet was the lightest thing in the room. Take your shoes off. The world's not going to end if you relax for a second. He tossed over his shoulder as he jogged up the carpeted stairs. I didn't see a need to take my shoes off, since I was going to have to put them right back on. His face showed his displeasure when he came back down. AJ, I'll have to put them right back on. What's the point? I was running on fumes. The reception hadn't ended until after 3 a.m., and I'd been going since 5 a.m. the previous morning with no sleep. Between hair, nails, waxing, getting dressed, and helping Arya get dressed for the wedding as well as the reception, plus dancing and drinking all night, I was done. I was struggling to stay awake, and truth be told, I was losing the fight, drifting off in the middle of the conversation. I woke up maybe an hour later. The sun was rising, but dark curtains kept it out for the most part. I was laid out on the couch with a light blanket over me. My shoes were lined up neatly by the side of the couch. AJ was on the shorter sofa, a game controller in his hands, his attention steadfast on the TV. He was playing one of those basketball games, his fingers moving feverishly over the buttons. Why aren't you asleep? Not tired, he told me, without taking his attention off the screen. I didn't have as much running around to do as you guys. Plus, I'm not really a sleeper. What do you mean? I'm good on 3 to 4 hours, he explained. That's generally all I get every night, and I function just fine. Oh, yeah, I don't sleep a lot either. That's because you don't know how to shut down and stop working. I'm sure you could use a full 8 every night, but you're too busy to take that time for yourself. That's not true, I defended. I go to bed and wake up really early. Because you're so worried about missing an email that even your subconscious is anxious. I wanted to argue with that, but it was true. My dreams were even about work. I checked my email before brushing my teeth, and at every point in between me getting dressed, eating breakfast, and making it to my office, where I left it open all day. I needed to work on disconnecting, but I had way too much going on. We were in talks to get our own TV channel, which was absolutely huge. Intrigue had been on the road to ruin when my parents handed it over. That was the only reason they had handed it over, probably thinking they would stiff me with the responsibility of being in charge when it tanked. They were wrong, though. I worked my behind off to get the magazine back to what it once was. Let me be arrogant for a second. The magazine was doing better than it ever had. I started working there fresh out of college as a staff writer, then moved up through the...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?